No, this isn't a joke, and it's not some overblown complaint from the West. Alberta is seriously considering a future that could include breaking away from Canada and even joining the United States. Yes, the province that powers the Canadian economy is now openly questioning its place in Confederation. And back in Ottawa? Well, they're stunned, unsure of what just happened. Premier Danielle Smith, known for her no-nonsense leadership and strong voice for Alberta, has taken things to a whole new level. She announced the possibility of holding an independence vote in 2026. But here's the twist. It's not just about separating from Canada. Smith is also entertaining the idea of aligning Alberta with the United States. That's right, American annexation is now part of the conversation. Why? Because when you feel ignored by your own government, it starts to make sense to look elsewhere. And if your neighbor has a stronger economy and more influence, the temptation only grows. Meanwhile, federal liberals seem caught off guard, reacting with confusion and hesitation. Especially Mark Carney, the former central banker turned political hopeful. Known more for his focus on global conferences and climate goals than day-to-day issues faced by everyday Canadians, Carney is watching this unfold with real concern. This isn't just a passing threat or a political stunt. Alberta is sending a clear message. Fix the relationship, or we'll find a new one. And it's not just talk. There's real momentum building. Petitions are circulating, town halls are filling up, and support for Alberta's independence is no longer a fringe idea. It's now a mainstream topic of conversation in coffee shops, boardrooms, and rural communities alike. People feel unheard. They're frustrated with decisions made in Ottawa that impact their livelihoods, especially in oil and energy, without their input. Danielle Smith knows this. That's why she's not just speaking for herself. She's channeling a growing provincial movement. A movement tired of being the economic engine of the country while having little say in where the train is going. Mark Carney may still be polishing speeches for international panels, but Alberta wants real answers. And fast. Because if Ottawa doesn't change course, Alberta might just decide to chart its own path, across the border or not. The idea that Canada functions purely as a corporate entity is starting to fall apart, especially for those pushing that theory. The federal government's version of climate leadership involves banning oil tankers while still importing foreign oil. And its idea of national unity? Many in Alberta see it as taxation without proper representation. Now, Alberta, under Premier Danielle Smith, isn't just pushing back. They're seriously exploring the possibility of stepping away from the country altogether. Let's put that in context. Premier Smith is doing something no major Canadian leader has done in decades, openly questioning whether Canada still works as a true federation. And unlike Quebec's drawn-out referendum efforts, Alberta's proposal is far more direct. The I-12 question they're asking: do you agree that Alberta should become a sovereign country and cease to be a province of Canada? There's no political spin or vague language, just a bold, clear question. And this isn't just a fringe movement. There are rallies in major cities like Edmonton, social media groups growing fast, and even a few people reaching out internationally, claiming Alberta deserves its own path. One public figure recently described Alberta as an eagle trapped in a cage. A metaphor that might not be crystal clear, but the message is obvious. People want change, and they want out. So what's driving all this? Many Albertans feel Ottawa, under leadership figures like Mark Carney, is treating their oil industry not as a vital resource, but as a burden. Projects get blocked, pipelines are delayed, and tankers are restricted. All while Alberta continues, sending billions of dollars to other provinces through transfer payments. It's frustrating for people who feel like they're contributing but being punished for it. Premier Smith recently addressed this frustration head-on, and unlike federal politicians who often speak in polished, cautious tones, Smith sounded genuinely fed up, like someone who's hearing the concerns of her province loud and clear. Now, she hasn't officially called for Alberta to separate, but she also hasn't ruled it out. And that silence speaks volumes. The numbers are telling too. A recent poll showed that 36% of Albertans support the idea of leaving Canada. That's not a small protest. It's a significant portion of the population seriously considering the idea. Then, in a surprising twist, former US President Donald Trump weighed in, suggesting Canada could even become the 51st state. Normally, that kind of statement would be dismissed quickly, but in Alberta, some residents saw it as a sign that the conversation has gone international. If Ottawa is offering restrictions and red tape, and the US is offering opportunity and profit, some people are starting to wonder if alternatives should be explored. Of course, leaving Canada isn't simple. It's not like canceling a subscription. Constitutionally, provinces can't just leave. But Canada's Supreme Court has said that if a clear referendum supports separation, negotiations must follow. In other words, no, you can't leave unilaterally. But if enough people vote for it, the federal government has to talk. Of course, joining the US wouldn't be simple either. Congress would need to approve, and Albertans would have to think hard about whether they're ready to give up Canada's universal health care in exchange for the American system, where access often depends on insurance and income. But to be fair, some Albertans might be willing to take that risk if it means more economic freedom and fewer federal restrictions. There are big trade-offs to consider. On one hand, Alberta could stop sending billions in equalization payments and gain broader access to US markets. On the other hand, they'd lose the Canadian dollar and the benefits of federal programs they currently depend on. Still, some people believe it's better to take a risk than stay stuck under heavy regulations and carbon taxes. But here's the twist. This may all be part of a political strategy. Danielle Smith knows how to send a message. And right now is a smart time to do it. Ottawa is facing political instability. Mark Carney's government is holding on to power with a shaky minority, and ongoing recounts are raising questions about legitimacy. Meanwhile, the Governor General could soon face a major constitutional decision if things escalate further. Smith's talk of independence might not be a final decision. It could be a bold move to get attention. And it's working. Quebec is watching closely. British Columbia is reconsidering its options. Ontario is worried about its finances. And Conservative leader Pierre Poilievre is likely paying close attention to every development. Here's the challenge for Mark Carney. You can't run a country like a balance sheet. Canadians aren't numbers. They're families, workers, and business owners, and many of them feel ignored, overtaxed, and underappreciated. While Ottawa focuses on policy frameworks and long-term targets, Smith is giving voice to people who just want to work, build, and live without feeling constantly blocked. Her message is clear. Let us work. Let us live. Or let us leave. Will Alberta really separate? It's hard to say. But what's clear is that Canada's internal tensions are growing. And if things don't change soon, this could become one of the biggest political shifts in the country's history. Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed this breakdown, be sure to like, subscribe, and share your thoughts in the comments below. Would you support Alberta going its own way, or should the country stick together? Let us know, because this story is far from over.